Good morning, folks, and here's PC Gamer talking about how Ubisoft was apologizing for the ableist language in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, I didn't know this was a thing or how this even came about, where this is in the game. I read the article, so we'll find out where this ableist language is and how it got changed. So it's kind of like the codex entry for a character of how they are the way they are. And here's a character talking about, or description of this character. So, horribly burned in a childhood accident, Eorforwine is terrified someone will see her disfigured face. She relieves her fury with bursts of violence. Okay, so if you're talking about, I don't know, Vikings, they're dual-wielding crazy people, and a lady Viking, they might be, a little concerned of how they look to other people, especially people they want to get on good terms with. And that's pretty much the opinion of most people. They want to be nice and be attractive. And with ladies, doubly so. That's part of their culture. They want to be attractive to attract mates and that sort of thing. So for some reason, this is a form of ableism. And I don't even know why. I have no clue. So this is outside of this person's review of the game, and they have their own website where they talk about video games that are all about accessibility. So this is called Courtney Craven. Obviously, I don't think that's the last name that's real, but who knows? Called it Can I Play That? So it's a website about accessibility in video games, which is great. And you kind of need websites and opinion pieces like this to talk about those sorts of factors. And at the end, we'll just look at the last chapter here, or last paragraph. It feels like a case study in developers believing that Assassin's Creed Valhalla feels like a case study in people developers. I don't know what people developers are. I'm only aware that developers are in fact people. Maybe she thinks developers aren't people. I don't know. Believing that accessibility lies solely in providing options. Yeah. What do you want to do? What options should they not provide? I mean, what are you talking about? If it's some other game made for blind or deaf people, that would be a totally different experience in the Assassin's Creed suite. I mean, it would just, how would you do that? A special kind of controller? Some sort of harness? VR? Like, what are you talking about? Let players have huge subtitles, give them menu narration, and scalable map icons, and you've created an accessible game, right? Wrong. Like, really? Okay, I mean, that sounds pretty good. I know the accessibility for The Last of Us Part 2 was given high praise. We could probably look to that game. But I see nothing wrong with people who have poor vision, giving them bigger subtitles, bigger fonts, clearer fonts with proper backgrounds, so white on black. Menu narration, text-to-speech, or having to pay a voice actor to speak out all of the descriptions, that could work. Scalable map icons, that's a great idea. But apparently, an accessible game must be crafted as an accessible experience with thoughtful attention given to UX and UI. So this is now, we're bending over backwards. We're changing the entire design of the game, the interface, to make it something else. And ultimately, if I know accessibility, I've worked in accessibility for software, for websites. You need better fonts, bigger fonts, brighter colors, proper colors. You need text-to-speech. You need responsive design for your menus on mobile and iPad and its other devices. So you need as many options for the hearing impaired, for the blind and deaf, and all those other criteria, that you get the person who's on the website to have the freedom and options to view the website. So providing options. You need to provide more than one option, and that's what Assassin's Creed Valhalla is doing. I can't help but feel that the accessibility of Valhalla is more of a last-minute band-aid than a truly inclusive game. It's the first Assassin's Creed game since the original game that I don't see myself finishing. So this is strange, because if this is true, if Assassin's Creed Valhalla provides huge subtitles, menu narration, scalable map icons, that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good. If you can control these things in the options menu or what have you, that's a good thing. Sometimes you can't read the subtitles. Sometimes you can't read the GUI or the HUD. That's good, but that's not enough for this person, which is bizarre. Fine, maybe it's not the game for you. Maybe it's not enough for blind or deaf people, which is there's a whole scale. Some people have color blindness, have complete blindness. I don't know how they're going to enjoy playing a game like this, but okay. Now, that's the last part of her review. Let's go to the first part. Okay. Just to give you an understanding of this author, I spent 3 hours looking for a boat, chatting back and forth with Ben in our staff Discord because the only guidance offered by the game was to the east and to look in the swamp. Now, I don't know where a boat could be in the game. It could be on the shoreline or a body of water like a swamp. Seems like a good place to go. I went east. I scoured the foggy swamp looking for the damn boat. I found nothing. The only way I was able to finish the quest was by guessing. 3 days later, wow, I don't know how much time you had with this game, but is that 3 days of playing or just you took a break? Wow. I realized that Ben and I were talking about two entirely different boats in a swamp quest. That is how vague the navigation help is in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, it sounds to me that you weren't using the map and the proper map icons. And when you're bitching about map icons, could you not see the map icons? What's going on here? What is this person? So let's just go back to the article here. Here's the actual Twitter post, which she says, I did not include this in my Assassin's Creed Valhalla impressions piece, but it's equally important to address. This is a character description in the game. It's absolutely unacceptable to talk about facial differences this way. Writers for games and otherwise need to do better. Now she's talking about the content of the game, not the accessibility or the UI or all this other stuff. So now she's jumped from, I'm a critic on interface design and making a game or whatever accessible to people who don't have proper hearing or whatever. And now she's talking about ableism. Who the hell is this person? What is going on? And Assassin's Creed people just, sorry for pointing this out. We apologize for unintentionally reinforcing ableism. I don't know. Again, I don't know what ableism is in this context. I don't know who's being enabled. What's wrong with talking about someone who has a scar and doesn't want people to see their scar? That's pretty common. Lots of people are like that. I used to be like that when I was a kid. I have a scar on my face. Then I realized, it's not a big deal. I grew out of it. We will remove this language in an upcoming update. So it's really a cosmetic change. This is just a bunch of text on screen. Not a big deal, right? Well, who the hell is Courtney Craven? Don't know. Courtney Craven, an award-winning nerd who founded that website we showed, does captions for Unreal. Views mine, but could be yours. Courtney at caniplaythat.com. They, them, punk, rainbow-colored mohawk, odd sexuality. In case you were worried, Assassin's Creed is the only game I want to ruin. I can't wait to also ruin Demon Souls. Oh boy. If you're going to try and attempt to even come close to the Dark Souls or Demon Souls or any of those kinds of style games for accessibility, you have a mountain of mountains to climb, Courtney. Might be time for the angry men to find a new hobby because what? Courtney, learn some goddamn grammar. I wish I might be time for the angry men to find a new hobby because this is the future of the games industry. You're welcome. Really. I'm sure suddenly the entire games industry will future-proof their games for the 1% or less than 1% of people who think like you. It's one thing to be blind and deaf. That's a whole other ballgame for UI and accessibility. It's another thing to be bitching about ableism in a game where you hack people to pieces with axes and you dual wield them. So, Courtney, I don't know. I think you're off on a limb here. But let's learn more about Courtney. She's obviously a very smart they-them person. And this was in July 26th. So she has 3 degrees, a BA in sociology. Wow, quelle surprise. An MA in English. And a master's of the fine arts in fiction writing. Whoa, she knows her creative writing. Look out. And they were all earned online from the same university. She's had lupus since age 4. Okay, so she has a very specific problem growing up. That's fine. Traditional school has always been inaccessible to me because of this. I didn't begin college until I was 32. Okay, cool. So because of her illness, she couldn't have a normal education. Fine. Totally understand where you're coming from. I simply cannot sit in a lecture hall or lab for hours. Really? Why not? That has nothing to do with lupus. And I come out of it having retained anything. So you can't sit for 1 hour in a lecture hall. Can you do anything for an hour? Read a book? Can you watch TV? It's just too painful to force myself to sit for more than 20 minutes at a time. Do you need a pillow? Do you need a bed? What's wrong? Online classes serve my needs perfectly well. So somehow an online class, which I guess you can pause and come back to, is okay. How about books? You could pause a book. It's called putting the book down and going for a walk if your lupus acts up or whatever the hell lupus does to you, since you're 30 something. So in summer of 2018, I became sick with West Nile meningitis. Holy crap, you can't catch a break. And lost a significant amount of my hearing. So that was just 2 years ago, so you were still 30. And that was before you attended your college. All right. So now you've lost a lot of your hearing. I was fortunate that my partner of 10 years was a deaf woman, and I quickly and easily adapted to this new disability. Okay, so you're adapting, fine. So this is interesting because we have a person with a severe disease, lupus, who then loses most of their hearing and can't sit for more than 20 minutes at a time and can't retain knowledge. That's a very weird series of conditions for someone to talk about accessibility or to learn anything in 20-minute bursts or whatever, however you study. I was already fairly proficient at lip reading and asking nicely because most of my communication with people was either in ASL or typed in social media. Conversing with people remained easy, and I was unprepared for how my barriers I was about to face as I began my MFA. Okay. And the MFA, which is the Masters of Fine Arts, I believe, in fiction writing, was entirely video-based. Interesting stuff. I don't think that's a very good program. If you are doing creative writing and it's all remote, I don't know. That does not sound like a very... Okay, you need to be with people when you write. They need to look you in the face and tell you your work sucks. You need to cry and scream and shout and swear and do all the other things to be a writer. Whether you do that in the privacy of your own home and you're screaming at yourself in the mirror, I don't care. But you have to talk. You have to talk it out and get it out of your system. And then you push that into paper and the screen and ink and whatever. So if she found it successful in her program, great. But if you are a writer and you've gone through a program and you're saying bullshit like ableism in one sentence, describing a character because they're scarred, there's something wrong with something. I don't know if it's your writing. I don't know if it's your worldview. I don't know if it's your politics. Frankly, I don't really care. But anyone saying this nonsense is not worth their ink. Courtney, you're probably very good at figuring out what makes a game accessible. You have a website dedicated to that. You obviously spend a lot of time. You're deaf or you're partially deaf. You would know what works. Please leave the writing to the professionals. There is nothing wrong with describing someone who has been horribly burned in a childhood accident. There's nothing wrong with relieving your fury with bursts of violence when you're a dual-wielding axe person Viking, okay? Characterization is expressed in other ways. There's nothing wrong with that sentence, or 2 sentences. Anyway, that's just Ubisoft bending the knee to some crazy people online or people who don't have the proper, I don't know, background in English creative writing, despite Miss Courtney Craven, having 3 degrees. Sociology might have been the worst, probably the not the best degree to get. And then to get an MA in English and MFA in fiction writing might have soured the experience, may have changed the outlook. Combine that with this very limited view of the world and whatever politics she's a part of. might start screwing up the game. The game is doing well. It's over 80% on Metacritic and other OpenCritic as well. So, I mean, it's obviously Stadia. I don't know. Care about Stadia. So obviously, it's well for other reasons. Whether it's good for other reasons for people who are deaf or blind, I don't know. But for the general audience, people with functioning eyes and ears and fingers, and who aren't too concerned with 2 sentences describing people, I think it's going to be okay, guys. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a good morning.